Chapter 17. Monday was class election day. Jeff wasn't at the bus, and he wasn't in his seat in class. Maybe he wouldn't be in at all. I wished he wouldn't be. But Jessica was. She was sitting quietly in the seat next to mine when I came in. The whole day before, I was worried she might call to ask where I'd been on Saturday after lunch, because she didn't see me or any awesome sports car. But she didn't call. Maybe she was at her doctor's all day anyway. It didn't matter. I was too mad to talk to anybody on Sunday. I barely said anything to my parents, even though they asked me a few times what was going on. But now, in the minutes before class got started, I couldn't stand it. I turned to her. "The whole car thing didn't happen," I said. "Sorry." "Neither did New Haven," she said. "I was at home." How stupid. "Sorry." That was all we said. Mrs. Tracy came in and we stood for morning prayers. When they ended, Jeff walked through the door and slid into his seat. His expression seemed hard and empty. His jaw was grinding as he stared off at the windows, and his legs were twitching. He seemed like some kind of animal ready to bolt up and out of there at any second. "All right, then. Today is the day we've been waiting for," Mrs. Tracy said, starting the big business of the morning. "The election we've been preparing for." Something cold dripped through me. It was like a trickle of ice seeping down my throat and into my chest. I glanced over at Courtney, who was sitting quietly in her seat. This was it, the moment. I tried to put the whole Jeff and Cobra thing out of my mind, and that stupid dream of Jessica. I didn't even know what that was about. I tried to breathe deeply and slowly. My hands were trembling. "Okay, Courtney." I knew it would be so awesome if I could really do what I had wanted to do for weeks now. Me and Courtney. It was like swords were suddenly flashing around me. Explosions were everywhere. There was a boiling river below me and an avalanche above. I breathed in and tried to stay calm. The door clicked as Mrs. Tracy closed it. "We've heard some speeches and seen some posters." "Darlene's is the best," said Samantha Embriano. "Thanks," said Darlene, a bright red dot on her chin. "And now the time has come for our primary," Mrs. Tracy said. "When you nominate a candidate, it should be someone who has made a poster that made you think, given a good speech, or somehow proven that he or she would be a good president. Once we zero in on our candidates, we will vote by secret ballot. I'd ask you to keep in mind that this is not a popularity contest. It shouldn't be. The winner will be our first elected class president, an office which carries a lot of responsibility. Lots of fun, I think. But whoever wins this morning will come to meetings, form groups, and help organize events, so there is a lot to do." She looked around and everyone quieted down. "Are we ready? Then let's start. Who wants to be the first to nominate someone?" Everyone waited. It was perfect. My hand shot up, and Jeff shouted, "Courtney!" I gasped. "What?" But Jeff didn't look at me. He just bobbed his head around to the back corner of the room. Courtney's face turned red at hearing her name, but she was smiling. Lifting her own hand, she said, "I'd like to nominate Darlene Roberts." I couldn't believe it. Jeff had wrecked everything. Courtney was mine. He knew it was my idea to nominate her. I noticed Rich looking at me. He knew it was my idea too. He was there when I told Jeff about it. It wasn't Jeff not caring this time, though. He did it on purpose. He had planned it. Now it was too late to do anything. I heard Kayla naming Samantha Embriano next. Dave fidgeted in his seat and seemed to be waiting for someone to say his name. He caught Kayla's eye. She shrugged and nominated him too. Samantha frowned. Joey nominated himself, then retracted it, naming Eric LoBianco instead, and laughing through it all. Mrs. Tracy wrote the names on the board. "Anyone else?" she asked. "No more? So we have Courtney, Darlene, Samantha Embriano, Dave, Eric." Jessica's hand went up. "Yes, Jessica? Would you like to name someone?" In her small, breathy way, she said, "Tom." It was as if I'd suddenly been zapped with 1,000 volts of electricity. 100,000. Every part of me felt a jolt of hot energy. What did she say my name for? I'm no candidate. I didn't even show anyone my poster. I didn't even want to be president. Not that anyone would vote for me. Then I thought Mrs. Tracy might object because I didn't campaign, but she didn't. "Jessica named Tom," she said in the same plain way she said everything else. Then she chalked my name on the board beneath the others. It was so strange, so embarrassing to hear my name connected with Jessica's. With all those eyes turning to me, Jeff even turning, I felt my face go so red. I didn't want this. I didn't deserve this. The images in my dream rolled back again. I felt finally as if I had lied a really horrible lie, worse than any of Jeff's. And now that Jessica had named me, everybody knew the lie. I was suddenly ashamed and angry with myself. I wanted to run. My stomach churned. I felt cold. "Good. Any other names?" Mrs. Tracy asked. Then a strange thing happened. If I felt nervous and ashamed, the other part was that I felt I had to do something. My name was right up there on the board with everybody else's. The teacher had written it the same way she had written the others, the same way she had written Courtney's. And now that Courtney was already nominated, stolen from me by Jeff, it seemed there was only one thing I could do, a thing no one else would do. And I had to do it. The only way to get Jessica into the class, really into the class, was for one of us to get her in. I mean, why not? I don't know if anybody would vote for her, but Jessica was smart and nice, and she'd been to lots of schools, so she knew how things worked. And she even made that joke about the beach. Maybe the only way she could really come into the class was if she got involved. We would all get over the problems about her being burned and different and just get down to business. Maybe this was even better than nominating Courtney. I would do it. I would. Mrs. Tracy looked around again. "Is there no one else? Are we all done nominating?" I swallowed hard. "Jessica." "Well, all right then," she said, turning to the board to scratch numbers next to names. "We have Courtney, Darlene, Samantha, Dave, Eric, and Tom. And Jessica." Sweat poured down my chest and onto my stomach. The sides of my shirt were soaked. My waist was soaked. I glanced around the class. They were all looking at the board. No one was looking at me. Even Jessica's head was down. I turned to Mrs. Tracy again. "She has to write Jessica's name. Add the name. Do it now." Mrs. Tracy set down the chalk and dusted her hands. 6 altogether. 3 girls, 3 boys. Good. She hadn't heard me. Did I even say it out loud? I didn't. Mrs. Tracy stepped to her desk and picked up the voting slips, and suddenly it was too late to do anything. I couldn't say Jessica's name now. That would be stupid. My mouth wouldn't even work. I was suddenly a tiny, invisible thing with no voice. Too small to do anything, and it was too late. "We'll now begin our voting," she said. Confused, hot, my blood racing, I tried to busy myself with the tiny piece of paper and my pen. But there wasn't much you could do to make yourself busy with such small things. I stared at the little yellow slip. "Please vote by writing the name or the number of your candidate on the paper, and then fold it over," the teacher said. "When you have voted, raise your hand, and Ryan will collect the votes in a box. Ryan will not look at the votes." A few minutes later, it was all over. Ryan collected the votes, and Kayla tallied them. Mrs. Tracy laughed and said that Kayla's skill in math would probably not be strained by counting only 21 slips of paper. Then the teacher recounted them herself and gave them back to Kayla to announce. "Courtney won 7 votes," she said. There were cheers and applause. Darlene, 4, and Samantha Embriano, 3. Eric and Dave had 2 each. Joey did end up writing his own name on his vote, but then crossed it out, disqualifying himself altogether. "There's 1 vote for Tom Bender and 1 that was blank," Kayla finished. Jessica turned to me after the tally was read. "Sorry," she said, as if she were apologizing to me that I got only one vote. "You should have voted for yourself. A vote for Tom." She didn't say the rest of my stupid slogan. Right, vote for myself. So I wouldn't be dead last, the bottom of the list, the complete loser. But I was the loser. I didn't do anything. How could I vote for myself? I didn't vote for Courtney or even Jessica, who I wanted to nominate. It occurred to me that even if I couldn't manage to nominate Jessica, I could at least have voted for her. I could at least have done a write-in vote, but no, I couldn't even manage to do that. All I did was prove that I was just like everybody else when it came to her. I was like everyone who ignored her or was afraid of her or hated her or wished she didn't exist. Like all those people running around her burning car. They didn't get her out. They watched and ran around all stupid, but they didn't get her out. And now she was like this forever. Even here and now, she was still in that car. Like every single one of those people, I did nothing. I ran and ran and ran. "Jessica," I began to say, She just did a sort of tight, painful thing with her lips and kept her head down. When I got home that afternoon, I called her house, but after 3 rings, I hung up. I could have held on longer or tried again. I knew that. But I didn't right away, and the day sort of flew by with stuff to do. Yard work, emptying the dishwasher and reloading it, ironing my uniform shirts, cleaning my sneakers. It was just stupid little stuff around the house that seemed to take me forever. I ended up not trying again, and then it was supper time. After we ate, the phone rang. "It's Jeff," my mother said. My father looked at me when I didn't take the phone. I didn't move, then told my mother to say I was busy and couldn't answer. A little later, the phone rang again. "Tom, phone," said my father. "I'm not here. I'm at the mall with Mom. It's a girl." I felt tired all of a sudden. I just wanted to sleep. "Hello?" "Hi, it's Jessica. Can you come over?" I breathed out. It suddenly seemed the hardest thing in the world to go over there. I didn't want to see her. Please. Her father with the "sit down, Tom." What more was there? I felt so tired. My mother was looking at me from the counter. "I guess," I said. "Sure. Okay."